Hey everyone, and welcome. So get this, the video game industry is over 50 years old. And you know what's wild? Some of the hottest games right now, they're from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. We're smack dab in the middle of a huge retro revival. And that just begs the question, right? Why? I mean, we live in an age of absolutely mind-blowing graphics and massive open worlds. So what is it about these, old games that just keeps pulling us back in? Well, that's what we're going to dig into. Because let's be real, this isn't just about pixels and processors. It's a feeling. It's like taking a trip back to a totally different time, a different way of thinking, and for a lot of us, it's a direct line back to a huge part of our childhoods. All right, so here's the game plan for today. We're going to start with this whole retro renaissance thing, then we'll dive into the psychology of why we're so obsessed with these games. After that, a super quick trip through gaming's golden ages. We'll check out the 3 main ways you can actually play these classics today, and finally, we'll see why this whole thing is way, way more than just a game.
Okay, first up, the retro renaissance. And look, it's so important to get this straight right away. This is not just some fleeting trend, like a hot new game that's popular for a month. No. This is a full-blown cultural movement. We're talking about a massive, super passionate community that stretches all across the globe. You've got collectors out there hunting down super rare cartridges. You've got indie developers literally making brand new games for old consoles. And you have tons of fans just dedicated to keeping the incredible history of this art form alive. So what is it? What's the magnetic pull of these classic games? Well, it pretty much boils down to 2 main things: this incredibly powerful feeling of nostalgia and their just unique, undeniable charm.
Yeah, nostalgia is the real engine driving this whole thing. For literally millions of people, these games aren't just a bunch of code. They are a time machine. They take you right back to your childhood bedroom, to sleepovers with your friends, and that pure, amazing feeling of finally beating a tough level for the very first time. And this really shows you the core difference in how games were made. Today's games, they're often massive, super complex, almost like movies. But back then, games were built on a totally different idea. Make it simple, make it addictive, and make it all about chasing that high score. It's the kind of gameplay you can learn in seconds, but you could spend a lifetime trying to truly master. Just pure, instant challenge. And that simplicity, that's where the unique charm comes from. Just think about it. You've got that iconic pixel art look, right? Those unforgettable bleeps and bloops of chiptune music. And gameplay that anyone, and I mean anyone, can just jump into. There's no 40-minute tutorial you have to sit through. You just press start and you're playing. And for a whole generation, this is where it all started, the arcade. And it wasn't just a place to play games, was it? It was a social hub. All those glowing screens, the crazy mix of sounds from dozens of different games all at once. That whole experience is just baked right into the DNA of retro gaming. Okay, so to really get what's happening now, we kind of have to look back at how we got here. So let's do a super quick history lesson and see how these golden ages built the entire industry we have today. So back in the 70s, you had the golden age of arcades kicking off with absolute game changers like Space Invaders. Then the 80s rolled in and brought the revolution right into our living rooms with consoles like the NES, making characters like Mario into global superstars. And then the 90s just blew everything wide open. You had the fierce console wars, think Sonic versus Mario, and groundbreaking PC games like Doom that literally invented whole new genres. And you really can't overstate how huge this shift was. Gaming went from this public thing you had to travel to do to this really personal hobby that became a permanent part of living rooms all over the world. It was a massive, massive cultural change. Okay, so all this talk might have you wanting to fire up a classic game right now. But how do you actually do that today? Well, let's break down the 3 main ways you can start your own journey into the past. So really, it all comes down to what's right for you. It's basically a trade-off between how authentic you want it to feel, how much you want to spend, and how convenient you need it to be. So first, you've got the original hardware. It's 100% authentic, but yeah, it can get pricey and it's not super convenient. Second, there's emulation. This is really customizable and cheap and super convenient. And finally, you have the official services. They're totally seamless, incredibly convenient, but you're usually looking at a subscription fee. All right, let's talk about that authentic path first. For the purist out there, there is just nothing that compares to holding that original NES controller, blowing the dust out of the cartridge, you know you did it, and playing on the actual hardware it was made for. It is without a doubt the most immersive way to experience these games.
Okay, next up is the modern path emulation. So what this does is it uses software to pretend to be an old console, but on your modern stuff, like your PC or even your phone. It's an incredibly powerful way to get access to a ton of gaming history. Now, it's worth mentioning the legality can be a little bit of a gray area, but the general rule of thumb is you should own a physical copy of any game that you emulate.
And last but not least, we have the official path. See, companies like Nintendo and Sony have definitely noticed how much people love their old games. So services like Nintendo Switch Online or PlayStation Classics, they give you this curated, totally hassle-free library of classic hits, with all the modern bells and whistles you'd expect.
But playing the games, that's really only half of it. Retro gaming is just as much about the people. It is a super vibrant, welcoming, and incredibly knowledgeable community.
And jumping in has never been easier. Seriously, you can dive into endless discussions on Reddit's r/retro gaming, find local groups on social media, go to conventions and events, trade games with other collectors. Heck, you can even share your own passion by starting a blog or a YouTube channel.
And really, when you get right down to it, that's what this is all about. It's a shared passion that literally connects generations. You see parents sharing the games they grew up with their own kids, and it builds this amazing bridge of understanding, all centered around the simple, universal joy of just playing.
It's really this whole diverse ecosystem. I mean, one source put it perfectly. It's a community of collectors, developers, and fans, and they're all united by this deep love and respect for the history of gaming.
So at the end of the day, why does all this even matter? Well, because these games aren't just old relics collecting dust. They are the absolute foundation that the entire modern gaming industry was built on. Almost every single genre, every game mechanic in today's biggest blockbusters, you can trace its roots right back to these classics. So preserving them, that's preserving a huge piece of our cultural history.
So this incredible library of gaming history, it's huge, and it's just waiting there for you. It's not some closed book on a shelf. It's an interactive story that people are still exploring every single day. So I guess the only question left for you is, what chapter are you going to play first?